Dear students, today we have to study about transport in animals. So, this chapter is written in some of the books as transport in animals and in some books transport in humans. So, in this chapter, we have to study about circulatory systems, heart, blood vessels, and blood. Now, what are the circulatory systems? There are two types of circulatory systems, single circulatory system and double circulatory system. What happens in single circulatory system, like in fish, uh, the blood, deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body comes towards the heart, and heart pushes that blood towards the gills. It becomes oxygenated in the gills, and from the gills to all parts of the body in the fish, and then blood becomes deoxygenated in the uh, body parts, and then deoxygenated blood comes back to the heart again, and in this way the circulation is completed. So in this way this is called as single circulatory system. Whereas in mammals and human especially, the blood circulatory system is called double circulatory system. What happens here? Deoxygenated blood comes from the body towards the heart through the veins, and then uh, superior and inferior vena cava. So it enters into the right atrium first, from the right atrium to right ventricle, and then from the right ventricle towards the lungs through pulmonary artery, and blood becomes oxygenated in the lungs, then comes back towards the left atrium through pulmonary vein, and then left ventricle contracts and the blood moves into the left ventricle. When left ventricle contracts, the blood is passed to all parts of the body through the aorta. Now, the right atrium and right ventricle are divided with the help of three valves called as tricuspid valves, and the uh, left atrium and left ventricle are divided by two valves called as uh, bicuspid valves, and left and right side of the heart are divided by a wall called as septum, and the whole heart is covered by a pericardial membrane. So dear students, heart has four chambers, two atria on the upper side and two ventricles on the lower side. Atria are to receive the blood from different parts of the body, and ventricles have to push the blood from the heart to all parts of the body. Right side pushes blood towards the lungs, and left side pushes blood to all parts of the body through aorta. Now, ventricle walls are thick as compared to that of the atria because they have to push blood, and left ventricle has the thickest wall, even it is thick than that of the right ventricle, because right ventricle has to push blood towards the lungs only, which are very near to the heart, but the left ventricle has the thick walls, very thick walls, because they have to send blood to all parts of the body from head to toe. So that's why it needs more energy. For more pressure, uh, the walls of the left ventricles are thick. Next are the blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels called as arteries, veins, and capillaries. And dear students, it's better to draw a table for these blood vessels, that what are their names, where they are located, what are their functions, and what is their structure. As you know, the structure should be related to the function, and uh, the function is related to the structure. So in this way we have to describe that as well. So let's talk about these three vessels. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry towards the heart, and capillaries unite the arteries and veins. Next, cross section. Artery have thick walls and narrow lumen, whereas the veins have wider lumen and thin walls, and capillaries have very thin walls and very small lumen. Now, uh, in case of arteries, the internal lumen diameter is fairly narrow, and it can expand by the pulse, whereas in the vein the lumen is fairly wide, and in case of capillaries it is very narrow. Red blood cells squeeze through. Even they cannot pass freely, they have to pass through the capillaries by squeezing. Then, wall structure. Arteries have thick wall because they have to tolerate high pressure, and veins have thin walls as compared to that of the arteries, but uh, thicker than that of the capillaries. And walls of the capillaries are single celled, very small, so that's why they have uh, very thin thickness, and the distance between the uh, capillary and the surrounding cells, so that it may become very less, so that more diffusion can take place. Then blood direction. In the arteries, blood moves away from the heart. In the veins, blood moves towards the heart, and capillaries basically unite the arteries to the veins. And blood pressure is high in the arteries and low in the capillaries and very low in the veins. So here the high in arteries, low in capillaries and very low in the veins. And blood flow in the arteries is rapid, irregular, and in the veins it is slow and regular, and in the capillaries it is very slow, so that exchange of material can take place. Next, some major blood vessels. Dear students, you must know the major organs of the body and the arteries and veins which supply blood to those parts of the body or carry blood from those parts of the body. So let's talk about the major blood vessels. The pulmonary artery supplies blood to the lungs, and pulmonary vein carries blood from the lungs towards the heart. Uh, Aorta supplies blood. Aorta is the largest artery. It supplies blood away from the heart, and ventricle, sorry, and vena cava, the largest vein, carries blood towards the heart. Next, uh, uh, subclavian artery supplies blood to the arms, and subclavian veins from the arms towards the vena cava. Hepatic arteries, hepatic artery single supplies blood to the liver, and hepatic vein from the liver to the vena cava. Uh, Gastric artery to the stomach and intestine, and hepatic portal vein from the small intestine towards the liver. Then renal artery supplies blood to the kidney, and renal vein from the kidney towards the vena cava. And iliac artery, also called as femoral artery, to the legs, and iliac vein or femoral vein from the leg towards the vena cava. So these are the major blood vessels. And jugular artery toward the neck and head, also called as carotid artery, which carries blood to the head, and carotid vein from the head towards the lower parts of the body, especially vena cava. Next, dear students, we have to discuss about the blood. You know, blood is about 12 to 8% of the body mass of a person, and it consists of two parts. One is called as solid, and second is called as liquid. The solid are the blood cells, that is red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, whereas the white part is called as plasma. So 45% of the blood are the blood cells, and 55% is the plasma, which is the liquid part and is responsible to transport different materials. So let's talk about these segments one by one. Red blood cells, also called as erythrocytes, they are biconcave in shape and have a red pigment called as hemoglobin, which is responsible to transport oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body. So it combines with the oxygen, forming oxyhemoglobin, and then oxyhemoglobin reaches to different cells, different body parts. There, uh, oxygen is dispatched there, and hemoglobin comes back towards other parts. So the red blood cells later on, they uh, send oxygen to different parts of the body. Okay, next are the white blood cells, which are also called as defenders of the cell, and they are of two types, called as uh, lymphocytes and phagocytes. Lymphocytes produce antibodies which destroy the antigens, and antigens are the foreign proteins which are harmful for the body, and antibodies are the useful proteins which are made by the white blood cells, which are made by the lymphocytes for us, and then phagocytes engulf the pathogens, and in this way we get rid of the pathogens, and the white blood cells are called as defenders of the body. So in this way they defend us. Next are the platelets, which are used to uh, clot the blood. If something happens abnormal like cut upon the skin, then the blood will pass out of the body, which may become uh, the site of the germ entrance. So to prevent that, it should be blocked. So in this way blood clotting occurs. Secondly, the germs may not enter through that into the body, and the blood may not loss from the body. So to prevent the blood loss and to prevent the entry of the germs, that clotting outside the skin, outside the body, is necessary rather than inside. If it is inside, clot formed in the blood vessel, this is risky and it may cause the heart diseases like heart attack and some others. And the blood vessels which supply blood to the heart are called as coronary arteries, and if they are blocked or any one of them is blocked, then heart attack may be caused. So in this chapter we might have to discuss the heart attack and some other disease, but it will be discussed later on. So it was all about the transport in uh, animals today. Thank you very much. Hope you have enjoyed the class. Allah Hafiz.